the 1980s, Lee Piowski owned a successful national stockbroking company worth $15 billion. During his time as a successful businessman, Lee began to daily abuse drugs, alcohol, and cocaine, even while at work. Lee's life began to spin out of control. With his mind clouded, he lost the ability to properly manage his clients' finances. Lee began embezzling and moving around clients' money to hide his financial losses. His company became a Ponzi scheme. Lee's world came crashing down when one of his employees discovered the truth and reported it to the FBI.
I grew up in a Christian home. I went to church every Sunday. But I don't know, at the end of the day, something was wrong somewhere. There was some hole that needed to be filled. My God was cocaine and alcohol. My God was money. Those are the things that I worshiped. That problem became worse and worse. And eventually, that road led straight into prison. Lost my family. I didn't have my gods with a little g. I didn't have the money anymore. I didn't have the friends. I had used up all my friendships. I had stolen money from my family and friends. To them, I was an outcast. I had to learn the hard way, the new way of life. The people running the prison called me in one day and they said, "You know, Lee, you're an alcoholic and a drug addict, right? We just want you to start going to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous." And I said, why would I want to ever go to those things? All that are in those rooms are a bunch of losers. Nobody could really explain my behavior, and they actually sent one of their psychiatrists from Washington, D.C. out to talk to me because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Turns out there was a lot of things wrong with me. When I was interviewing with the psychiatrist, I was trying to act like I was smart and knew everything like I had for years. Finally, he asked me the one question I couldn't answer. He said, "Alls I want to know is, who are you?" Stumped me. Didn't know. I had no idea who I was. One day I was sitting in my prison cubicle, federal prison in Safford, Arizona, and this big, tattooed, ugly guy came up to me and said, "You haven't been showing up at our AA meetings." I said, "I'm not going to go." He said, "Yes, I think you are going to go." And I said, "No, I'm not." He says, "Well," he said, "here at the federal prison in Safford, Arizona, the only place there's not a security camera are the racquetball courts." And he said, "If you're not going to show up, I'm going to take you out to one of those racquetball courts and whack you across the head a couple times." I said, "Well, maybe it'd be a good idea to go to the meeting with you in that case." And so part of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is that you have to find what is called a higher power. And so when we got to the part of the program where I was to find a higher power, my big, ugly, tattooed friend, who at this time had assumed the role of my sponsor, said, "Okay, Lee, now you're going to have to find a higher power." And he told me, he said, "You know, I just want you to know that my power, my higher power, is Jesus Christ." And I said, "No, I don't want anything to do with that." I said, "I'll figure one out, and I'll tell you tomorrow what it is." So I went back to my cubicle, I rolled up a sock, I painted a happy face on this rolled up sock. I said, "This is a sock, and its name is Oscar. This is my higher power." So, for the next 90 days in a row, I had to show up every morning, kneel down, and say prayers to this sock. And the funny thing is, after doing this for about 90 days, my life started to change and get better. I couldn't really explain it. It occurred to me that the sock probably was just a sock. I asked my big, ugly sponsor. I said, tell me a little bit more about this Jesus. And through a course of a lot of conversations, I began to understand that what was walking beside me all the time was Jesus himself. And really, once I understood it, there could be no other possible explanation. Not only was just right beside me right now, he was there the whole time, through it all. Through all the stuff that I did, the disgusting stuff that I did, he was always there. That was a revelation. Of course, once I understood that, then it all hit me. Then it all hit me how warped I had become, how I had been given all of these gifts, smart, industrious, all of these things, good education, and I had used it all for all the wrong reasons. I had used it against other people. I had used the gifts that were given to me in every bad way possible. That wasn't a good day when that all came to me. But my sponsor reminded me that having Jesus, he says, the really good deal is you get forgiven. Found Christ in prison, found recovery from alcohol and drugs in prison. Now, I think it would be easy to think that, okay, wow, he's learned his lesson and everything is going to go so smooth for him from here on in. The world changes a lot in 5.5 years, the time that I was incarcerated. And I got out, didn't have anything, didn't have any money, didn't really have any clothes, didn't have anything. And I started to see people. This was in 1998, people are starting to have laptop computers and cell phones. And I saw all of that and I wanted it. I wanted all of that stuff. And I started to think to myself, maybe I can go back to the life again and make millions of dollars and become a bigwig in industry, and still with my newfound recovery and belief in Christ, I won't have the same problems. I can do the same things, but this time it will be different. And so once again, my ego and my arrogance had come bubbling to the surface. The world crushed me immediately. Couldn't get hired, couldn't get a job. Nobody wanted me. Family wouldn't talk to me. Old friends didn't come and see me. I couldn't even get hired at Circle K. Several times I was close to relapsing, close to wanting to go and have a drink. Watching the commercials on TV, it always seemed like happy people, the guys with beautiful women, they all had drinks. I had to understand it was all a lie. I wanted it, but I knew it was death for me. And the only thing that I had left that was real in my life was recovery and the faith in Jesus Christ. The world around me moved all the time, and there was all these confusing things, but Jesus was always the same. Always there, always the same. And I could always latch on to that. It happened one day that they said, here, why don't you take a job here at Crossroads? I said, I don't know if I would be any good at that. I'm a finance guy. And they said, well, maybe you should try something else. So I took this job at Crossroads for $6.25 an hour, which was a minimum wage back then, and I never left. And I suddenly realized that this had to be the plan all along. And it's funny, in my job today, I have, again, troubles every day. I'm surrounded by people that have troubles. There's misery everywhere in my work, but yet there's hope, and there's recovery, and there's faith, and there's, with God, all things are possible. And that's what I know every day. Even when the trouble comes, I know that with God, all things are possible.